a green future. Democratic Congressman W. Wasserman Schultz is a Democrat from Florida, and Republican Congressman Steve Scalise is a Louisiana guy. He's a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, a Republican, and he's casual for us today. Congressman, I want you to take a listen to what Senator Tom Coburn, he's from an oil patch state like you. He's from Oklahoma. He said this about the EPA's plans to regulate carbon emissions. Quote, "It would be stupid for us to do this now when the rest of the world is not coming along at all. Even if it is the right thing to do, now is not the time to do it." What do you make of a congressperson, or a senator in this case, who says he doesn't want to do the right thing because other people aren't doing it?
Well, first of all, Chris, I think that it's really a shame that the president is trying to capitalize upon our disaster and shift instead of focusing on helping us recover and doing his job, which he's not doing on the ground. He's talking about this cap-and-trade energy tax, which I don't think is a real answer for energy policy, because it would run millions of jobs overseas and it would make our country more dependent on Middle Eastern oil. So that's not.
What should we do to change our dependence or remove our dependence on fossil fuel in the future? Looking down the road to the fact we're not going to have fossil fuel, looking down the road where we know it's dangerous to the climate at some point, how are we going to shift to new energy sources, sir? How are you going to do it?
I'd like to see us using all of the above strategy, Chris, where we actually don't just use our domestic energy resources, but we also do more to explore wind and solar. But you got to recognize wind and solar aren't going to get us where we need to be alone. We need to do more nuclear power. We need to move more to natural gas and clean coal technologies. And fossil fuel is going to be a part of that, but we need to reduce our dependence on Middle Eastern oil. And his plan not only raises taxes and runs millions of jobs overseas, it increases our dependence on Middle Eastern oil. So it's the wrong approach to an energy policy. I'd rather see us go in a direction that actually uses American innovation and technology instead of one that puts more taxes and runs more jobs out of our country.
Congresswoman, is there a Republican energy plan, or is it just to say no to your plan?
Well, the Republican energy plan has been driven by slogans: drill, baby, drill, all of the above. None of those things are going to make sure that we can create green jobs, millions of green jobs, and not get beat by China and India when it comes to the innovation that Congressman Scalise is talking about. I mean, believe me, I come from a Gulf state, one that depends on a $65 billion tourism industry, a coastline that is the most pristine in the country, and one that is potentially facing the oil that has leaked out of the rig off of Steve's shoreline. If this isn't an example of why we need to wean ourselves off our dependence on oil, period, and focus on the American innovation that we know is possible so that we can create renewable sources of energy, then I don't know what is. But
what is the, you know, I'm a big deal maker. I love deals. I love the old-time Senate where they cut deals in Congress and they moved forward. They didn't just bitch and take positions and give press releases and make speeches. They actually could say a year later something got done during that year. Now I want to ask you, Congressman, is there a chance here to move ahead with an energy transition based upon, say, Dick Lugar's plan? Is there something Lindsey Graham's moving to over there? Let's look at this. Here's Mitch McConnell's position, which I think is not a position. He said, what I believe most of my members, if not all of them, will not be interested in is seizing on the oil spill in the Gulf and using that as a rationale, if you will, for passing a national energy tax referred to down here at the White House as cap and trade. Now, that's a negative position. What is the positive position in terms of moving forward? And do you support some kind of negotiation with the Democrats, which never seems to get done in this presidency? You guys, McConnell from day one has said you guys' platform is no. That's your platform.
That's right.
That's what is he right? Is McConnell right? The smartest move for your party is to screw things up for the next couple of years, right through November, get the country completely bollocksed up, and they'll vote Republican out of desperation, and you'll have more power. Is that the strategy of the Republican Party this year? Well, McConnell says it is.
Yeah, first of all, Chris, I'm a co-sponsor of a bill called the American Energy Act, which is a comprehensive energy plan. The president has refused to meet with Republicans who have an alternative idea because he wants to just go out there and say falsely that we're just a party of no.
We've got bills. True, and you know it, Steve.
But Debbie, we've got a bill. You might not like our bill. You might want a tax on energy when the president's own budget director said it would add over $1,200 a year on energy taxes. Oh, well, I'll be happy to come to the table, but not to raise taxes, not to run millions of jobs out of our country. And so that's the difference.
That's that's
let me ask you a value judgment, both of you. Would we be better off weaning ourselves on fossil fuel over time, Congressman? Would we be better off? Just a simple question. Would we be better off weaning ourselves from oil over time, all oil?
I think we all recognize we need to do more to promote alternative sources of energy, but nobody's suggesting that you're going to be able to put a wind turbine on the top of your car and drive around. So we've got to be realistic about energy policy as well.
They don't. Because they have a very short-sighted view of what we can do in terms of renewable fuels. Oil.
Well, we know we're moving there. Let's not act like we're all troglodytes. Neither one of you. We're moving towards hybrid cars. We're moving towards electric cars. Solar works in some cases where the climate has a lot of heat, a lot of sun, air, wind works where there's a lot of wind. North Dakota, places like that. Congressman, let's just go positively. Is there a future for an alternative to oil? Is there a future for that?
Yes or no? There is. And I think
we're going to always need oil. Will we always need oil?
Well, I think if you continue to promote alternative sources of energy, you'll ultimately get to a point where you can replace it. We're not there yet, and we're not anywhere close. Let's work to get there.
But
by taxing energy, running millions of jobs out of our country, that's not the answer.
We have to make the investments that we need. We have to use American ingenuity, American innovation. Steve and his colleagues have to be willing to stop saying no and sit down at the table with Democrats and work out a renewable energy plan that focuses on
I'm going to ask you to go
first.
Let me go with Congresswoman first. I want to ask you both. I want to ask you to pretend you're at a table.
Well, it's worth billions of dollars in debt, and it didn't work.
You're at a table.
Created.
Okay, imagine, Congressman. You said the president won't meet with you.
We have gone from bleeding 700,000 plus jobs to creating 400,000.
Let's only take a minute. Can we take 2 minutes here, ladies and gentlemen, to try to have a negotiation? Congressman, let me ask you this. Congressman Scalise.
George Bush.
Congressman Scalise, let me ask you, you said you can't meet with the president. What would you do with the president? I mean, in the middle of the table, not on your side of the table, going towards the center, meeting halfway with Markey and those guys on the cap and trade side. Is there something in the middle that could get done between now and the end of the year, which you reasonably believe would be a compromise? Sir.
I think the first thing that we need to do is let's put some things on the table, but the president's got to take new taxes off the table. Our economy is suffering right now, mostly because of the bad policies coming out of Washington, and they continue to raise more taxes, and it's crippling our economy. So the president's got to take new taxes off of the table.
What are you putting on?
His cap and trade bill has billions of dollars in new taxes.
What are you putting on the table? What are you willing to compromise on?
Let's look at how to utilize our natural resources in this country today to go and invest in those technologies of the future, but by using innovation and incentives, not taxes and running millions of jobs out of our country. So there's a different approach, but hopefully we can sit down. I know the president doesn't want to meet with us. He'd rather just bash us. He won't even meet with us to talk about the problems we're dealing with right now in the Gulf, where we've laid out some real ideas to fix our solutions. I was in Grand Isle today, all day meeting with local responders, and guess what, Chris? They still are getting told no by this president and this administration on plans to protect the marsh.
All I know is the president went up to your Republican retreat and met with all you Congress people. He also went to Blair House and met with all your leaders. I do know he does meet with you, but I'm not sure meeting is the issue here. It's compromise on both sides. Do you think you can compromise from your side, Congressman?
Absolutely. If the Republicans would be willing to sit down around the table and work out
I'm telling you, when I see this, if the Titanic sank today, you know what the Republicans would be saying? Don't be telling the shipping lines they need more life rafts or life preservers. Don't get involved with industry telling them what to do. At some point, the government has to intervene because the private sector is not doing the job. The private sector is what we're seeing on that live bug every night on television. By the way, Congressman, that is the work of the private sector without regulation. That's what it looks like. Without being taxed heavily.
Is the regulator, Chris,
people have been getting away for centuries without paying taxes. You've had the biggest tax breaks in the world because you've controlled the Ways and Means Committee, you've controlled the finance committees and the regulating committees to the point there is no regulation of safety. You've had your way. So that works, and we're seeing it every night on the air.
If the Titanic sank today, I'm sure the president would try to blame it on George Bush, and we've seen where that's gotten us.
Well, that's not useful.
If you look, we've got real solutions, and the president still to this day isn't working with us.
Well, let's go back and argue again. I like arguing. Thank you, Congressman Scalise. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in here on Friday. Congressman Scalise, Republican from Louisiana. Up next, Tim Pawlenty talks about what it takes to run for president. That's in the sideshow. Where do you hear him tonight? He is really funny. You watch a Hardball on MSNBC.